So the first thing that I really want to talk to you guys about is what's happening in the markets, because you might recall before I left and I said, I believe we have now entered the melt-up stage. Does this not tell you everything? This is the debasement trade gains momentum. This is such a huge indication of how close we are to the end of this. And what they're really talking about is the devaluation of all of the currencies, the entire flipping global monetary system. And that is debasement of what you and I are forced to work for and use as our tool of barter. But hey, it's all about Wall Street, isn't it? Does it matter what happens to you or me? Heck no. Let's just go with that debasement trade. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and something that I have, in all the years that I've been in these markets, never have I seen anything so clearly as pretty much everything that I am looking at these days. So that takes us to this next slide, with this spot gold market versus the US dollar. And the spot gold is in red and the dollar is in blue. So that's why I did it that way, because they're both money, right? Now, we've got fiat money, and we've got sound money. Sound money holds its value. It cannot be debased. It forces fiscal responsibility. Don't we want our government to have some fiscal responsibility? They're spending our tax dollars. They're spending the money that we work for, and not just us, but what our children in the future are going to be working for. But now it's all about the debasement trade, and isn't that a good thing? No, it is not a good thing. You know that it is the debasement of the currency by design that robs every single person on this planet of the thing that they have value in, which is their time to generate that income to take care of their family. It's an absolutely disgusting thing. I came back so reinvigorated. Oh, I was already invigorated because I know this is a big battle, but it made me understand more clearly how important our global voices are, especially to speak for those that will not be able to speak for themselves, because this can continue as long as we allow it to continue. And it's time for us to say no. Get gold, redeemable gold, back in the system again to take the public's power back. Otherwise, you're not going to be happy with the result that you see. But let's go back to some of these charts. This first one is on the spot gold market. And you can see spot gold has obviously broken out. There's also, I don't think I can do it with this, but there's a little gap. And remember, at some point, all gaps will be filled. Technically, gold is over spot gold. Spot gold is overbought. So if we get that pullback, or when we get that pullback, I should say, to that level, well, I don't know what demand is going to be at that time, but just keep accumulating. Don't be waiting, even though when it does give you that pullback, that's just a normal technical correction. Either way, even with spot of $4,000, severely undervalued, because my friends, they are not even marginally done doing this. It's the debasement trade. This protects you from debasement, and so does this. So does this. It's important, more important than it's ever been. So this is the spot chart on silver, okay? And we've got it from 2000, I think 11 or 13. So there is the conclusion of the cup. We are right there. Now, my expectation would be, as a technician, that once it goes above that $50 an ounce on the spot market, that it will shoot up even further, even faster, because that's what happens when those resistance levels on the top are broken. But this is the conclusion of the double cup. That is so powerful. I've really never seen that before in any other asset, but you can see it pretty clearly here. So spot silver is really setting up for a very powerful rally, even though the rally has been extremely powerful up to this point. And in fact, spot gold, let's see, what have we got? No, spot silver, which is the blue line, has outperformed everything. These are the last 200 days. That's what you're looking at here. So you've got spot silver in blue, spot gold in red, and then you've got stocks and you've got Bitcoin. But there's a huge gap in performance between sound money, silver and gold, and the intangible wealth of the stock markets. But make no mistake, we are in melt-up mode. This is always what happens as we enter this next phase. Don't be blinded by numbers. Gold hasn't changed. Silver hasn't changed in thousands and thousands of years. What changes is the value of this stuff, hence this $10 trillion Zimbabwe note that I can't buy anything with. And we were having this conversation, Josh and I, just before we went on air, and he was so excited because spot gold had gone up like $400 since he made a purchase. And I said, the gold is still the gold. It's still the same thing. What's happened is the debasement, the devaluation of the currency. And this is a very, very significant thing. And the fact that they would then go out and they're calling it the debasement trade, it's such a wonderful thing. No, it's not. Do you realize that they are openly saying, let's devalue the currency even more. Let's create even more inflation. It is not these markets going up. It's the currencies going down. Never has it been more important to get your sound money strategy in place and executed as quickly as possible. You need to come together in local community to create surety in food, water, energy, security, barterability, which is anything physical. I like silver in any form. It doesn't really matter what the form is, but anything physical or any talent that you have is barterable. Learn some new skills. It'll serve you quite well. Wealth preservation, which gold absolutely has proven for thousands of years that's exactly what it does, and even growth opportunities, because all of this sound money is severely undervalued since a rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency. Do they want you to really understand that the dollar, or wherever you are, the euro, the yen, the yuan, the lira, whatever, take your pick, that's what's going away? They can keep a name. They just want to transition us into a new system. Are you going to go willingly, or are you going to go kicking and screaming and fighting for the sound money? If not for yourself, for future generations, for your children and your grandchildren. That's what this battle is about. For all those voiceless people out there that think that they just have to accept it. We don't. We don't have to just lay down and let the 1% abuse the 99%. What can I do? I'm only one person. One person can't do anything. But there are 8.4 billion people in this world. And if 3% of us are vocal and come together, we can change things. If enough people get rid of their garbage fiat money and position into sound money, we can have a seat at the table and a voice. And if I'm the one representing you, I want it redeemable. I don't want it intangible. I want to see that I don't like what the government is doing or the central bank is doing. I can go in and I can pull my wealth out and say, no, that is my vote. And while they want to digitize everything, and hey, well, look at how great it is because it's all a string of ownership. How about digitizing and putting our votes on the blockchain? We don't need as much representation that really aren't representing us anyway in Congress or in any aspect of the government. Why can't we represent ourselves? They don't talk about that. They just talk about locking up your wealth in this easy surveillance system. And that was one of the things that I got out of being at the Nomad Capitalist, which, by the way, was an absolutely spectacular event, spectacular, bar none. I met so many people from all around the world. I mean, this was such an extremely professional event. When I got, now I have to go backwards. But I was, on the stage, and you might recognize in the background what you're looking at is the purchasing power chart from the Federal Reserve, as well as the spot chart on gold. And you can see how they're different. And what was really interesting to me is I think most people that were there were not familiar with my work at all. And so it was kind of eye-opening for them what I was talking about. And I cannot even begin to tell you how many people came up to me after I did my speech and said, things didn't make sense to me. And I was wondering, what does all of this mean? And now with your charts and graphs, you really made it ever so clear, because we think we're living in a democracy, but we have not been living in a democracy since 1913 when they legalized the Federal Reserve. Because in that piece, the Federal Reserve shows us how they took corporate debt and turned that into Federal Reserve notes, into what they want us to think of as money. It's garbage. You're working for a corporation's debt. Does that make sense to you? Is that okay with you? It's debt upon debt upon debt. The system is collapsing. And seriously, I cannot stress enough the fact that one of the very first things I saw upon reentry was this devaluation trade being touted by the talking heads on Bloomberg. How awesome this is. Do you understand what the devaluation trade is? That is devaluing the money that you work for, that you try and save for future use. What a concept. That you trade labor for labor. And maybe I'm going to use this today, and maybe I'm going to use it 20 or 30 or 50 years ago. Maybe I'm going to pass it down to my children for generations to come. Don't you want that money to have the same purchasing power value as the day that your sweat and blood earned that money? Because that's what I want. Isn't that what you want? That's why. I mean, I came back reinvigorated. If I wasn't on too big of a mission before, for sure, I am now. We have to do this. People don't understand, but our group does. Our group right here absolutely understands it. And very soon, I'm going to have a program that all of you can participate in that will help spread the word and hopefully enlighten enough people so that they can see the truth. Because my favorite question, how many times can you be lied to when you do not know the truth? And the answer is every single time. So what I saw then in Malaysia and in Cambodia, it is about education. We have to educate as many people as we can possibly educate. And it's hard because what we're asking them to do is have a major paradigm shift. And that means they have to admit that what they believe to be true their whole lives is not true. And we've been living a lie, and we've been blinded by this lie. But ignorance, it doesn't make you immune. It just leaves you vulnerable. And I say, without any doubt in my mind, it is time to take our power back. And we can do it. If we come together in global community, we can absolutely 100% do it. And until next we meet, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.